It's a great honor to be an Olympian, a Paralympian. I never thought I could compete again after a devastating accident in 1979. So it was very rewarding and fulfilling to be able to compete at the highest level, in my opinion, in the world for sports. Athletics gave me the ability to compete again and never quit and go up against the challenges, whatever challenges I face. Take them head on and, strive to achieve greatness. Yes. I was a able-bodied athlete before a diving accident in 1979. And after that accident, I never thought I'd be able to compete again in athletics. And I was wrong. I got back with my competitive spirit, and I became a Paralympian. And it was no different. It's like, competing, whether you're able-bodied or disabled, it's just, life-changing experience.
Hi there, I'm Mark Ladwig. I'm a 2010 Olympic figure skater. I live here in Manatee County, and I grew up in Minnesota, North Dakota area and loved ice skating as a kid and really took it to heart. And then eventually, later down the road, I found the perfect partner, the perfect training place, and it was all out here in Ellenton, Florida at the Ellenton Ice and Sports Complex. It's great to be here and share with the youth of tomorrow all of the lessons that I learned in the Olympics about planning and focus and always setting a goal and going for it. I've heard some great stories from my fellow Olympians, and my biggest personal experience was never forgetting the immense crowd and the cheering that the people of Canada and the world came together and just on their feet. I mean, we weren't ever going to get a medal, but we got the medal-worthy performance for us, and that's what's most important. So remember, get out there, set a goal, get off the couch, get going. You can't start without that first step, so cheers.
My name is Calvin Smith, sport track and field. I do the 400. I participated in the 4x4 in 2008 Beijing Olympics. I'm try out again for the Rio Olympics 3 weeks from now. For the open 400 and the relay. It positively benefited my life. Basically, it just keeps me active. I meet new people, interact, see different cultures, just learn a little bit about places that I haven't got to experience, or places, or different cultures, other people, what they went through to get where they are, and, dreams, and, just encourage people to do what they want to do in life. If you really want it, go for it. Put a game plan together. Listen to your coaches. I know as athletes we always think we know best, but they're your coach for a reason. They're put in that position. They've been through it. They got a lot more knowledge than we do. So, just, stay focused and don't get deterred if something doesn't go right. At the end of the day, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything.
I've learned a lot through my experience with the Olympics. I think first it starts with a belief. You have to have an Olympic-sized dream to be able to accomplish that goal. And so when I encourage and speak to young athletes, it's start big. Believe in your dreams. Work really hard to achieve them. The Olympics also brings out the spirit of unity and the ability to utilize a platform of sport in a very peaceful way, building up communities, teaching life lessons. And so that's something I'm also very passionate about. Well, I would encourage everyone to be active. Find something that you enjoy. There's so many different activities in sports, so make sure that you find something that you love to do, you're passionate about, and just make sure that you're healthy, you're active, you're taking an investment in your body. I think that also sports, especially team sports, teaches us how to work well with others, and that's an invaluable lesson whether you're on the court or in the classroom or in the boardroom.
When it comes to life-changing experiences during the Olympic process, I can't really say that I had those during the Olympic training process, because you're in a moment where you can't see the forest for the trees. It's not until after the Olympics are over that you have the time to go back and reflect about some of the things that you've done. I mean, when you're training, you don't really look at what you're doing as being awesome or as being exemplary, because you're around a bunch of exemplars every day. I lived at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I was having lunch with people like Apollo Ono. I sat down and I talked with wrestlers like T.C. Dantzler all the time. You're talking about people who have been at the top of their sport, NCAA champions, national champions, sometimes world team members. So it's very difficult to think of yourself as being different than everyone else, because you're the same as everybody else. But when you finish, that moment when you leave the Olympics, you hop on the plane and you're headed back home, that is when you realize how massive what you did was, how you gave up portions of your life, you actually begged, you actually, tried to get money. I mean, I remember the times when I took a flight to get to Europe early with no housing, so I slept on the floor outside of a train station. I've slept in airports before. I have situations where I've been at training camps and couldn't stomach the food and I ate Snickers bars the whole time. But you never really think about those things until it's over and it's done with. And you think about the people that you travel with and the people that you train with, and you always tell yourself, damn, I wish I would have taken more pictures. And I think that's the one thing that all of us do as Olympians. We just wish we would have taken more pictures, and we would wish we would have lived in the moment a little bit more, but your focus is so myopic. All you can think about is gold medal, gold medal, gold medal, gold medal, gold medal. And I think sometimes we miss some of the other things and some of the experiences along the way. It's even to the point now where I'm 41 years old, and I sit down and I reflect about my Olympic training process, and I get something new that I really didn't realize happened before. When I was training for the Olympics, I was actually going to school doing my PhD at the same time. I was going to sleep late, getting up early in the morning, and then I was on the second floor of the Olympic Training Center studying. And I think about it now, I'm an Olympian. I'm in like 0.001% of the population, and I have a PhD, and I'm an African American, and I'm in 0.00001% of the population. And that alone, when I reflect back on it, makes me feel like an Olympian. A lot of people talk about being talented and being gifted in terms of athletics, and the truth of the matter is that there are some genetic predispositions that allow some people to jump a little further, to run a little faster in terms of maybe the tendon is connected to the bone like a millimeter closer than someone else, or maybe somebody is taller and they have a predisposition to play a certain sport. But to be honest with you, there's nothing natural about being a naturally gifted or talented anything. It requires reps, and most of the time people look at a thing and they don't want to do the reps, or somebody has spoken to them negatively so they don't do the reps. If you look at Carol Dweck and her recent research when it comes to the growth mindset, you have to have a growth mindset that will allow you to believe that you can achieve the things. What happens is a lot of people do reps, they practice, and they get to this point where they find out, damn, it's really going to require a little bit more than I'm willing to give, and most of those people drop out. The people that you see at the championship level, the people you see at the Olympics, those are people which have gone through the colander of success and the colander of luck. And sometimes what you see is called survivor bias. Anybody can achieve anything. A lot of people look at talent, and talent is not the thing. Jeff Colvin said in his book, talent is overrated, and it is. Because if you had to be 6'8" or 7'2" to play basketball, then Spud Webb and Muggsy Bogues would never exist. If you had to run 19-second 200, then the person who won the 200 meters in 2004 from Greece would have never have existed. If you had to be the fastest in the hurdles, then Lolo Jones would be an Olympic gold medalist already. So there's luck that's involved, there's genetic predisposition, but the bottom line is, if you do the work, you can be an Olympian too.
Okay, that's actually a hard one. So, as I'd mentioned in my panel discussion speech, when I was 5 years old, I contracted polio from the vaccine. And it imbued in me a level of determination and discipline that I wasn't going to let the adversity affect me throughout my training career. There were many, many hardships, but none of those hardships were as bad as getting over that first challenge. And while it was a struggle, I always kept it in the back of my mind that no matter how difficult things are, they're still better now than they were then. And you can talk about challenges of the issues with funding. We always had problems with getting enough money to travel here or there or get equipment. We always had problems with personalities within the team. I guess one of the messages I really want to convey to people is that it looks as though in many sports they're individual sports. A lot of us thought they were back then. The hardest lesson to learn was that no matter who you are, no matter how good you are, no matter what you do, it's all about the team. You might be the spokesman or the face for that team, but it's all about the team. Without the support, without the folks behind you and around you to both motivate you and provide you with the luxury of being able to focus on your event, you will never succeed. So always think about the team that helps you get where you are.
Hi, I'm Steve Colgate. I was in the Olympics in 1968, and I was in sailing. Back then, I think they called it yachting, but now it's called sailing. And what I'd like to say is that once you're an Olympian, you're always an Olympian. And we just got fairly recently, a letter from some member of the 1968 Olympics who was trying to get a heart transplant, and all the Olympians of the 1968 Olympians got together and paid enough money for this fellow to get a heart transplant. And it's just a team that works together, and once you become an Olympian, it's something you'll never forget, and you'll never want to never.
Although, while you're competing, it's all about the sport and it's all about winning. It's what you do after you can get done competing that really makes a difference in others, and that's why I'm here. The moment you've finished the Olympic Games, your first Olympics, and you know how hard it took, you have to ask yourself what more you can do with your life, and it's to inspire others. It's to inspire others to push harder, to drive for their own personal success so that you can help somebody else achieve their goals, their dreams, and their togetherness.
Hi, my name is Sam Thayer, and I was on the 1980 Olympic team as Susie Thayer. I'm actually a transgender person, and on the 80 Olympic team, I was second fastest in the world in the 50-meter freestyle, and I made the team in the 100-meter freestyle. And for me back then, it was all about setting a goal. I set a goal to make the Olympic team when I was 15, and I just gave it everything I got. Whatever my coach asked me to do, I would go above and beyond. I would come home from practice and be so tired I could hardly do anything, and I would still do push-ups and sit-ups and pulleys, and so I just always in my heart felt like if I just went above and beyond what I was asked to do, I could make my goal, and that's exactly what happened. I made the team and made that achievement, and I've used those lessons throughout my whole life. I still write goals every year, and I still go above and beyond in my work, and I invent low-volume irrigation products, and I still use those philosophies. So if I could say anything to anybody, write down your goals and go above and beyond.
I'm Gail Suncheroth Whitney, and I was in the 1960 Olympics in Rome, Italy. What I would want to say to the girls and boys that are here today is just to keep going after your dream and inner motivation that you have. Just stay with it throughout your life, and you will do well.
I'm Lindsay Shoup, 2008 Olympian from Beijing, gold medalist in the sport of rowing. Something that I would like to share with you guys is something that I learned through all of my training. I think it's something I learned through all of my life that actually ultimately led to my being an Olympic champion, for that matter. Two things, I guess now. One just popped into my head, an extra one. is that every single day of your life is an opportunity to become better at something. Everyone on this planet is the best at something, whether it's the person that's the best at being on time, or the person that's the best at waking up on the right side of the bed and being in a good mood. You know, there something so simple that seems unimportant is actually important, and that can be something that you are the best at. You know, you can spend your life searching for it. I became lucky enough to, you know, end up with this with my teammates and I didn't get here just for myself alone. I got here because of my teammates and because of everything that we did every single day to become better in our particular sport. So that is kind of a version of being the best at something. But when you look at what it is that you want to do and you become better every single day, ultimately, eventually, you do become the best. But then once you reach that point, wake up the next day and become even better. One of my friends has a really great quote, and I don't know if it's hers, and I don't think she uses it enough, but she says, identify your strengths and weaknesses. Continue doing your strengths and make your weaknesses your strengths. So then you continue to raise yourself up from there. The other thing that I would add to that is that stay optimistic. It's extremely difficult to do that, and there are certain people that it's innate to their personality, and there's a thing called the Myers-Briggs type personality test. When I was in college, I took it, and this was before I started really getting, it was my first year of rowing, and when I took it, it actually said that I had the same personality profile as the majority of Olympic athletes. And I thought that was a fantastic compliment to me, and lo and behold, 4 years later, I was an Olympic champion. So optimism is something that is absolutely necessary in life. Even on those days when you don't, feel that great, decide how you want to feel at the end of that day and make strides to feel that way by the end of the day. Ultimately, it makes you better one day at a time.
My most special Olympic moment was the opening ceremony of the 1988 Olympic Games. It was amazing to be down on the field with over 200 countries represented and over 100,000 people in the stands and millions of people around the world watching. It just felt very humbling and overwhelming to be a part of that process, to be in the center of it all, to have achieved the recognition of being an Olympian at that point. What I take away from my Olympic experience are the positive aspects of sport, of working hard, of discipline, of working with others, of being a part of a team, of unifying a group and working towards a common goal. Sport prepares you for life in that regard. You're not going to be successful in life unless you have the discipline, unless you have the dedication, unless you're able to work with others and rally people for a common purpose.
I would have to say, I remember my mother taking me to practices all the time and having that time with my mother because she died in 1990. So because I was an Olympian before 1990, I didn't realize at the time how precious that time was that I had with my mother. And of course, my father was alive as well, but I had a good quality family time. During competing, I think it was excitement just as a youth when I was 17 years old, qualifying and making the team and realizing that I had worked so hard all those years and actually going, and then another 4 years working so hard, making the team and actually going and being at the Olympics in the village and getting to meet the other athletes, and it's a really great experience. Even opening ceremonies, just being there and having that time with that you watched as a youth on television, and now you're the one on TV and you're waving to the Queen of England, and it was great. Well, one of the things that happened in 1980, and many people remember, was the boycott. And I had trained so hard, and it was a major disappointment. But experiencing that major disappointment, later on, when I was working for Delta Airlines as a radio operator in flight control, we had 9/11 happen, and who knew that was going to happen? And they had to do job cuts. And once again, I had to use real life and, no longer work for Delta. And that was a major disappointment because it was a great career. But I had athletics to fall back on. I became a trainer, and that's what I do now, and I've just enjoyed that now. So you kind of go with the disappointments and let them focus you on a whole new venture. Oh, that's such a good question. When my father, his career was the military, so I traveled, station duty, with my father, of course, in the family. And I was always the new kid, and but I used to be tremendously shy, but I used sports as a way to make new friends. You go to the next duty station, and I would do all the sports and make new friends. So all of that, every time we had to move and make new friends and doing sports, and the kids would always pick me for their team, and then I began to make teams. So the military actually was a great ground of going different places and meeting new people and experience different cultures and just continuing to want to be in sports.
Hi, I'm Lacey Jansen Harper. I competed in the pole vault in the 2012 Olympics in London. My life-changing events were probably my repeated attempts at qualifying for the Olympics. I tried in 04, in 08, and then in 2012, and I finally made the team on my third round. And I kind of knew at that point that would probably be my last Olympic trials. The 04 trials went terribly. I was probably at my lowest point in my career. I was having terrible mental issues. I'd fallen earlier in the year, and I was struggling with fears about taking off. And so in pole vault, if you break the plane of the box, like where you put your pole, and you run past that, it counts as an attempt. So in my first Olympic trials, I just let go of the pole and I ran onto the pit 3 times. And that was my my attempt at making the Olympics. So it was pretty devastating. Like, no matter what I tried to tell myself, I could not get myself to take off. I stuck with it. Stick-to-itiveness. Like, I knew that I loved pole vault, so I took that summer off and came back, and this was my junior year, and I was still having troubles, but I started taking off again, and things got better. By 2008, I felt unstoppable. I was ranked second in the nation. I had just a phenomenal year with confidence, and I went into that trials fearless. I was ready to make the Olympics this time, like I was going to do it. A lot of positive self-talk, and really just the love for the event. I mean, the love for the event gave me the fuel to fight those mental battles. And fighting them, I eventually, I squelched a lot of them so that I was back on top. And a lot of mental work with sports psychiatrists, and so yeah, I'm back. I'm feeling really confident, and pole vault is one of those things where 3 attempts sometimes just doesn't feel like enough to figure it out. Like, if you've got a headwind rushing at you, you're going to need a different pole, but you might not go up enough. You might not go up as many poles as you need to. You might go up 1 pole, but you really need to go up 2 poles. And then by that time you're on the 3rd attempt, and then maybe you're trying so hard you get under and you just have a terrible takeoff, and now you're done. That's how this meet went for me. So I come in the most confident I've ever been, and I just have 3 jumps where I just didn't do enough, or I tweaked too much, and now I'm 10th. So I'm really devastated. Like, I come back and I feel like this is my time, and it's not. I have another 4 years to wait. And during these 4 years, I'm still fighting these mental battles, still, really struggling with doing the things that I need to do to become an Olympian. I know I need to hold high on the pole. I know I need to, really hold high on the pole. But I am having trouble making myself do this. I just wanted to give that to illustrate everything that was, all of these failures really weighed on me and on my confidence levels. And so going into this meet, everything's riding on it. I come out successful, and looking back, how much I learned about pushing myself and overcoming these fears, fighting doubts and insecurities and fears, really just sticking to your dream. I knew I had a dream to go to the Olympics, so I did everything in my power to fight those mental demons and to stay with it and do what I know I needed to do to become the Olympian that I dreamed of. So the life-changing events were many failures that I learned were really very instrumental in my becoming that Olympian. It really built up my abilities to do positive self-talk and ways like that. So now I know I can pretty much do anything. I have competed with myself in the most intimate ways, and any goal I know I can reach because I reached one of the hardest goals, and it was so hard for me to do.